Welcome back to another video on the Turbo EF XR6. If you guys haven't seen the last video, I recommend you check it out. We got the new extreme clutch in. We got some of the fuel stuff in as well. The Raceworks fuel rail, the Raceworks fuel pressure regulator as well. And today we have Rex in here and Ollie. We're gonna get some of the lines made up, hopefully most of them. And then all that we're waiting for with the fuel system is injectors, and that's basically it. So let's get into it.
One of the hardest things about doing an engine swap is educating yourself on the lines. So there's a bunch of different fittings, a bunch of different types of lines that you need in order to do a build like this. As Nathan now knows, you need to educate yourself a lot. So a lot of the lines we're using for the fuel, we're using rubber, nylon braided AN6 lines, because that'll be big enough for the power goals that Nathan's trying to push. And we're also using a fuel pressure regulator to manage the entire system. Now we are going to be using the standard fuel lines that come with the car, stock from factory, and we're going to be adapting those to Dash 6 fittings. Let's do it.
If you own an E-Series or an AU Falcon, tune into this video because those hardline fittings are going to be a bit of a nightmare if you don't know what you're doing, because you have to use these special fittings which are hardline to AN adapters.
Shout out to Raceworks, baby.
Raceworks, shout out.
Yep, we got 5/16 straight line.
Yep. I'm just assuming here, but basically almost every single E-Series, apart from maybe the V8 ones, they use 5/16 hard lines that run from the fuel tank to the front of the car. I know this one does because I bought 3/8 ones and they didn't fit. So they're definitely 5/16. And you need this contraption to make sure that it actually is perfectly 5/16, because from...
Well, there's an issue with it. So for some reason, the Ford standard lines are ever so slightly bigger than 5/16. So there's a little trick that I've found doing it on my car, is that you can get one of these flare tools and you can compress the line and make it an exact 5/16 line with this hole right here. So that means the fitting will fit perfectly on there.
So if you don't use that tool that I was showing earlier, then the olive, as you can see Rex holding there, will not slide on. Whereas that line that Rex is doing now, he's compressed it so it slides on.
You
can demonstrate this one.
Go on.
Yep. So it's slightly bigger than 5/16. As you can see in this clip, the first half of the hardline to AN adapter is slotted on first, followed by the olive, and then the other end of the AN line is simply screwed on with a spanner to compress the olive to ensure that you don't have any fuel leaks. Okay, so before I show you the progress of everything we've done, I'm going to quickly, Rex and I are going to quickly demonstrate how to make an AN fitting. This only works for rubber nylon hose, not PTFE, that's different.
Alright, so we've placed the bottom of the fitting over the nylon hose. You've got to make sure that you get all the braids in there. As you can see right in there, the rubber line has been pushed up towards the threads, so we've stopped there.
So it bottoms out on the threads basically.
Yep, we've already put some lubricant in there. We're going to push that into the rubber and then I'm going to twist, and then it's going to start hardening up. I like to use 2 wrenches. Ideally you want to use like a vise or something like that to hold everything in place. But with this method, placing the wrench on your body, holding the line like this, you can sort of get away with turning this in.
Alright, so here is basically the finished product of the fuel system that Rex and I did. Also, massive shout out to Rex. He's always my biggest supporter when it comes to YouTube and everything. He gets annoyed at me when I ask him for help because he had to figure this out all on his own, but he's just too nice of a guy. He can't help himself, so he always helps me out when he can, and obviously I reciprocate it. But once again, please go check out his channel if you guys don't already know who he is, Rex H. He also built an EF, but it had a Barry in it. But anyway, so here is what it's going to look like. I try to make it as clean as possible. Obviously, we got the ED fuel rail on the ED plenum. We figured out that when we started to put fittings on, that I actually had to put on an ED forward-facing thermostat housing. Otherwise, it would start failing on this. But anyway, so for the feed, we have obviously the factory hardlines, which are down there. Hardline to Dash 6 AN female adapters with some male to male Dash 6 adapters. We have Dash 6 running to the feed of the fuel rail, which is right here. So straight from the hardline, just like it is from factory. Then obviously inject orb from the fuel rail to a Dash 6, and it goes into a hard 90. It goes under the plenum. It's very clean, out the way. And then it goes to a Raceworks fuel pressure regulator. The return going straight back to the factory hardline, which is again a hardline to female -6 AN adapter. But now it is actually time to put the gearbox on. I can't remember if I explained it in the last video, but basically I ran into an issue with the clutch fork. I lost the pivot ball that bolts onto the inside of the bell housing, and it pissed me off because it was a little tiny thing that I was missing. And you can't buy it by itself. You have to buy the whole clutch kit assembly, and it's really expensive. The best way I found to do this isn't to use a jack, but to just bench press it up in there. This is like the 3rd time I'm doing this, and this is the best way I found to do it, so hopefully it goes well. So after installing the brand new pivot ball, the brand new clutch fork, and the brand new throwout bearing, I tried to chuck the transmission in for the first time, but at first I was having issues because I didn't align the clutch properly, so it was super hard to get the transmission in. I had to pull everything back off again, realign the clutch, and then put the gearbox back in. Alright guys, so it's the next day. Whew, I'm puffed out. Finally got the trans in, figured out what the problem was. The clutch wasn't aligned properly. Trans is now in. Now that the biggest, most full job is done, what I have to do now is I have to just tighten up all the lines, and then I'm gonna mount this catch can. The problem that I face with this car, right, is that because Ollie and I made the towers look so nice, I don't want to mount the catch can here, and there's no room on this side of the frame rail because of the plenum. The only place I could figure out where I could easily mount it and have no issues is right here. It'll sit just like that. Back to the drawing board for the catch can setup. I figured out that I can't actually put the catch can on the frame rail because where I'm going to drill for the riv nuts is going to directly go into where the cross tubes are for the AE subframe. And we don't want to compromise the structural rigidity of that. So I'm going to have to put the catch can in a spot where I don't want it to be, but it is what it is. So I figured out a good spot here. So this spot here actually has 0 bulk. The catch can will sit like this. These catch cans didn't look so clean, I would not have put it there. But I made an exception for Raceworks because look at it. Because it's sort of recessed into the wheel well here, these nuts don't stick out too far, so I shouldn't have any clearance issues with the wheel. I will be putting these 19-inch BA replica wheels up for sale, so if you guys want these, please let me know. But if you guys want these, hit me up either on Instagram or in the comment section below. Put it in caps so I can see. Yeah, someone take them off me. So the catch can is now mounted, and also I've completely bolted in the trans before I had it in loosely because I was missing some of the bolts, but I just went to Bunnings and got some bolts. So the bell housing's in, the trans is in, trans mount is in as well. So now it's time to install a tail shaft. I'm liking this progress. I am very much liking this progress. I did take a look at the rear end though, and that needs some attention. Both axle seals are leaking, the wheel bearing is shagged on the driver's side, the diff is leaking. Time to put the tail shaft in. Then after that, I can tighten up the crank bolt. I'm not used to this size of shaft, you know. It's been a very long time since this car has seen any driveline components, let alone a trans. Insert the shaft. Now, I got too much torque. I got the handbrake up, I got it in gear, and it's still not. So unfortunately I'm missing 2 more of these and 1 more meter of -10 hose. But just for the purpose of demonstrating how these are made, I'm going to quickly make one. I'm going to make one that goes from here to here. Alright, so the fitting obviously has 2 parts. It has the top part and it has the bottom part. So you slot the bottom one on first, and you can't really see there, but it bottoms out on the threads where the threads end. Lube it up inside. You simply twist it on, so it should look something like this. Ideally you want to be using AN spanners, which are designed for these sort of fittings. Shifters will do just fine. it'll eventually get tight enough where you'll need to counter hold it with another one. And what it's doing as it's sliding in, as it's threading in, it compresses the rubber hose against the housing and makes a perfect seal. So we have some good news and some bad news. Good news is Ruka is back in Melbourne because he's going to be helping me do the exhaust on this finally. So going to get the hot side finished up. The cold side's basically already done, all the intercooler piping's done. Yes, that's going to be done in a future video, but with the catch can. This is basically what it's going to look like. There's going to be a 90 off here, and then I'm going to have to order some 120 degree bends because I'm going to send it underneath the runners, and I want it to look clean. I don't want to run like lines like going across like a tightrope. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. There's a new video every week on the EF, so like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.